Well, I'm joined now by the Republican nominee for governor, Zach Lahn. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in.
Well, I want to start with something that I think a lot of Iowans are seeing on TV right now. You know, you ran for governor in a crowded Republican primary, you became the nominee, and almost immediately there were some attack ads up on TV. They question your ties to Iowa. They cite some reporting from the Des Moines Register that you maintain a home in Kansas and fly back there frequently on a private plane. What's your response to some of those attacks that are up on TV right now?
You know, I think, well, first, I've addressed a lot of this in some of the article registers and online. I've been very open and transparent about this. I have a blended family. And, you know, I travel to see kids or pick up kids. And frankly, I would travel anywhere in the world for my kids, and I wouldn't apologize for it. I love being a dad, and having a blended family is complicated, but we make it work. It wouldn't in any way affect my ability to be governor or to govern. But I will say what's really interesting to me about seeing that was, you know, the next day after we won the election, that came out basically a day or two later. And, you know, Rob Sand didn't ever reach out to me. He had my phone number, could have texted, could have called, congratulations, and said it went right into a personal attack on me and my family. And I think that that just should show voters where the allegiances really lie. And I think for 8 months, he was campaigning on a campaign of unity. But immediately when the opportunity allowed, it was a personal attack. And it's just, I don't think Iowa voters are wanting that. And I do think they want the truth about these things. And we've been very transparent about it. I love our Iowa roots. I love our Iowa story. And I love being an Iowan.
I know you had said that the arrangement would look different if you were elected governor. What would that look? I mean, obviously it's difficult, right? Navigating a blended family. How would you navigate that if you were elected governor?
You know, that's something between my wife and I to figure out. But it's something that we've already figured out. It won't affect in any way my ability to govern or my ability to be president of the state of Iowa.
Do you think your trips will look the same as they have been throughout this campaign?
No, I don't think they're already not looking the same, because this is a very fluid and flexible situation. And, you know, as I said, I'm a dad. I love being a dad. I love being a present dad. And these are things that we've already figured out and worked on. And, you know, I think that the campaign needs to be about issues. And I'm, you know, disheartened that right now the media, frankly, and my opponent are making about something other than the issues. So we have great Iowa roots. I was born and raised in Iowa, graduated from Iowa High School, did my first semester of college in Iowa, and I was like many Iowa kids, I left. But then I came back because I want to make the state better, and that's what we're focused on.
Talking about the issues, a lot of your primary campaign was spent, you know, campaigning against the political establishment, against special interests and corporate influence. Another thing that has kind of been in these attack ads has been questioning your previous work with, you know, political organizations like Americans for Prosperity that advocate, you know, for some corporate protections. What do you want Iowans to know about your background as they hear, you know, some of those concerns?
Yeah, none of these groups are supporting me or have given me any money whatsoever, and we stand on our issues. You know, I'm not worried about which special interests or corporate interests I'm going to upset by doing the right thing for Iowans. We're doing the right thing for Iowans, and we're taking the arrows, and that's what I ran my campaign on. You know, I believe that Iowans are looking for someone who's going to stand up to the establishment. And if Tuesday was a referendum on anything, it was that. Iowans are looking for somebody that's going to give results, not rhetoric. If you look at our issues, if you look what we ran on, you know, we ran on education, making education number one in the nation again. I've ran innovative schools. We ran on saving our family farms. I've saved our own family farm. We ran on keeping Iowa's young kids here. I was one of them, and I came back. And we ran on the cancer crisis, and I'm the first candidate ever endorsed by the MAHA organization. These are things that are not rhetoric, they're actual results. And I think if people are looking for results, we're the right campaign to join. If it's looking for rhetoric, there's a career politician running on the other side that will give you plenty of that.
There was a lot of national attention about your win in the Republican primary for governor. A lot of national talk about what, you know, led to the upset, in part because you don't often see a sitting congressman who is endorsed by the president, you know, lose. And there was a lot of questions about what it was about your campaign that resonated with Republican voters. How did you interpret the message that Republican voters sent during Tuesday's primary?
I think it's kind of what I just went into, is that they're looking for real change, for somebody that's going to take on the difficult issues, the long-term systemic issues that we've been facing as a state. And also just to be told that, you know, the establishment isn't going to choose who the candidates are. You know, on the other side of the aisle, my opponent, Rob Sand, it was basically a coronation. There wasn't a real competition there. It was all about money. It was all about who has the most, and the field was basically cleared. On our side, we had a healthy, robust primary that was about the issues, it was about the future of Iowa, and our message of putting Iowa first, of making education great, keeping our kids in the state, saving family farms, and stopping the cancer crisis cut through. And the beauty of our message, as you know, I've talked about this, is that we don't have to change it. This is really what we ran on in the primary, is what we're going to be running on in the general, because it is the long-term issues that the state of Iowa needs to solve to make sure that we are prosperous and we live long, healthy lives in the future. And so I think the people of Iowa really looked at what we were running on, even if it upset some of the establishment in the Republican Party, and they said, yes, we want this, we're voting for this.
A lot of what you talk about, you talk about issues that have not yet been solved in the state of Iowa that you want to move forward on, as you mentioned. Republicans have had unified control in Iowa for the last decade. In what areas would you say that the Republican Party has done a good job, and what are other areas that you maybe break from the party and want to see transformational change?
I think the Republican Party has really been working to make life more affordable in terms of lowering taxes and also making sure regulations aren't onerous for people who would like to start businesses. I also think they've done a good job at protecting life. I really do. But on the other side of it, both parties for a very long time have ignored the issues that I'm running on. And I often say that I'm fighting against what I call the uniparty, and that is career politicians and special interests that have far too much control over our government and are doing the bidding of outside interests instead of the bidding of the people. And so that's what I'm fighting. And so when I hear this about Republicans versus Democrats, I actually think the people of Iowa are tired of this discussion. I really do. I'm tired of the discussion, because when it comes to whether or not we have a high cancer rate, that's not a partisan issue. Clean water is not a partisan issue. Having good education isn't a partisan issue. And keeping our kids in the state is not a partisan issue. These are Iowa first issues, and that's what our whole campaign has been about, and it's what it's going to continue to be about.
When Iowans are getting to know you and your opponent, Rob Sand, they listen to some of your message, they hear some similar themes, and the fact that you just said there are these systemic issues that are not a left versus right type of a thing, that's something that Iowans also hear from Rob Sand. You both talk about addressing Iowa's high cancer rates, about water quality concerns, about taking on special interests. Where do you think is the biggest point of contrast when it comes to what your vision for the state looks like versus Rob Sand's?
I think, I think it's rhetoric versus results. It's really what I think. But you have to understand that, my opponent has been running unopposed for months, almost a year, and has talked about, bringing people together in the bipartisan nature. The first thing he did after he won is attack me personally. That's number one. And two, he's been in this for 20 years, and he hasn't built a bipartisan coalition of people around him already. How is he going to do it as governor? We actually can do this. I have Democrats reaching out to me. Today, I've had Democrats reaching out to me saying, because of your stance on water quality and cancer rates, we want to get behind you. Because they understand that I took the risk of running on that, even in the Republican primary. I stood up for it. And so we're going to continue doing that. But this campaign, I really believe, is going to unfold in a way that's going to really show the true colors of the people in the race. My campaign is not poll tested. My campaign is about the people of Iowa. I'm not looking to political consultants to tell me what to say. And I think on the other side, Rob Sand is. I believe that for a very long time, he's waited to say the things until he knows it's safe to say. Just like giving pesticide companies immunity from liability. For a long time, he wouldn't take a stance on it. We took a stance immediately on it because it's the right thing to do. Now he's changed his stance. The voters of Iowa are going to really realize this. I believe that what we're looking at here is the Truman Show. And the voters of Iowa are Truman. And the whole thing is going to be coming crashing down on them because Rob Sand is not running an honest campaign.
Let's look back a little bit to the primary. When you won on primary night, you won with 38% of the vote. That means that there was about 62% of the vote of Republican voters who ended up voting for other people. What does it take for you to unify the party and take those Republican voters who may have chosen someone else in the primary to vote for you as governor?
I think it's already happening. I really see a coalescing that's happening around the state. From other campaigns, the candidates have all been very gracious in calling for their supporters to support me. Randy Feenstra did on election night. Brad Sherman, Eddie Andrews, and Adam Steen have all done the same thing. And so I believe that we are united. We're going to be united going into this race. We're going to be united to win in November. And I believe that we have changed the narrative in many ways in the state. This campaign has, to make it around these really deep systemic issues instead of making it around Washington, D.C. issues, which is what political consultants would like to do in some ways. We're making this about Iowa issues, and we're not going to stop.
The next step for you is to kind of decide who your running mate is going to be, who's going to join you on that ticket. Have you made a decision, or if not, do you know what qualities you're looking for in your next running mate?
You haven't made a decision yet, but we're looking hard right now. There's a lot of good qualified people. We've had a lot of interest, which I'm very thankful for. This is my first time doing this. And one of my favorite things to do in businesses that I've run, organizations that I've run, is to build teams. And so what we're looking for is somebody with complementary capabilities that can help share the message. And also specifically, I really hope we can find people that are ready to take on these deep systemic issues that we're talking about, maybe have some expertise in that area too. So stay tuned. We're going to be announcing something here, obviously before Saturday, but we're still deep in the process.
Rob Sand recently announced his running mate is going to be a Crawford County supervisor, rural farmer, Dave Mulbauer. Any thoughts on that pick?
I haven't had any time to really look at it. I just heard about it while we were pulling up here. So, but whoever it is, we very much look forward to sharing our message across the state. And I think that rural Iowans understand some of what's at stake here, truly understand it. Our farmers are facing unprecedented difficulties. We're seeing farm bankruptcies rise. We're seeing cancer rates high in rural communities. We're seeing input costs rise. Our campaign's been about all of these things since I announced it on the front steps of our farmhouse in November, and it's going to continue to be because we really truly believe in these issues, and we want to make sure that they are solved for the next generation.
Well, Zach Lahn, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll talk again as we get closer to November. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.